Welcome to the SmartCell Insight, or known as SCI demonstration series for the release 3.6. In this demonstration, I will show you the interface functionality and capabilities of the Clients tab. I will cover the information displayed on how the output can be filtered for only a specific group of devices and a specific period of time. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and log into this SCI instance. And as usual, the default page that is displayed is the Overview tab. This Overview tab is covered by other videos within this series that you can look at and provide you with more details. We're going to concentrate on the Clients tab today, so I'm going to go ahead and click on it. One of the first things I'm going to show you on this is how you can filter based on AP, SSID, as well as radio. So if I want to collect, or if I want to specifically isolate this to a specific controller or a specific organization or anything that is being collected within this SCI, I can select it by clicking on this down arrow, and then I can choose the system that I want to select. In this case, we can click on this one, and we can click the download list, and it's going to give us all the controllers and all the APs over on the right hand side that are represented within this controller name. In this case, we see that there's a single controller with underneath this this system, and if we click on the plus sign next to that, we will see it'll drop down to the domains that are configured underneath it. And if we can continue to go down, we will see that it'll now display the zones that are configured within that, and within each one of these zones we can select and act a group. Now if we want to select all of the devices within this particular system, we can just simply check this box and it would represent all of these. However, if I were to go in and select independent APs that are within this group, those APs would be displayed specifically. So if I were to uncheck these, I could go in and just select this controller, uncheck the boxes that I don't want, and then therefore it would allow me to select just the specific APs for that group. Now also, I can go and select the specific SSIDs that I prefer to based on this controller or this group. And it would only show me the ones that are represented within this particular system, or the systems that I have selected within the group over to the left hand side. In addition, we could select the specific radios if we so chose, to make it more unique or more specific on the reporting that we have as well. In this case, we're going to go up to and select the college town because there's a lot of data there that we can use that gives us good information on our reporting. I am going to select the whole group, so I'm not going to select independent APs within that, and I'm just going to click on Save. Now once the screen updates, we can see that the default that we have is basically a day period here. Now I can drop down this list and I can isolate to specific values by either selecting unique dates, or I can select the last 7 days, 24 hours, and even today as well. We're going to go ahead and report on this month, so we're going to go from the 1st to the 23rd and push apply. Now that we have the selections that we want up at the top here, let's look into this report to see exactly what it provides us. First, we see the overview, which is just a quick look of the total client count based on parameters selected at the top, as you saw we just did, as well as the total user traffic. So we can see that we have the clients as well as the traffic that is represented based on this filtering we've provided. We see on the top 10 unique clients by traffic over to the right hand side, and we see that those clients are identified. And if you need to find your top 10 users or your top users within the whole environment or a particular period, we can do that by simply looking at the values that we have here. You can even break it down to the user traffic specifically from a receiving or transmit from the AP's perspective. Also know that each user listed in this is click-through, providing access to more granular details of that device being used along with its connection and usage details. We're not going to cover that tab, which would basically take you to the client's detail tab within this video, because there's a video dedicated for the client details tab within SCI. That video can be found within this SCI series, providing more details for that tab. As we move down in this report, we see the first table that we have, or excuse me, the first graph we have is the top 10 OS by client count. The devices that are identifiable by the OS are listed here and represented in the pie and line graph layout. Hovering over the pie chart displays the details or the information provided within that chart itself. On the line chart, each is color-coded and can be displayed or removed based on the boxes that you see here. By default, only the top 2 listed within the pie chart are displayed. However, any of the others can be added by simply hovering over the outline box and selecting it. Now, depending on the date range you have up at the top, we can provide a more granular detail or better graphing based on the hour, day, and week. If you do have a date range that's within 7 days, you can go down to a 15-minute interval here based on the line graph if you so choose. Note that if you hover over the line graph, you can see that each one of the time intervals breaks down the individual values that are displayed within that time chart itself. You can see we can change the time interval for each one of these graphs, providing an updated information and the time periods that we prefer. As we move down on this report, you can see the next graph that we have is the top 10 manufacturers by client count. As with the above chart, the pie chart represents the top 10, with this showing the collection of manufacturers within the SCI collection area. You can select a granular detail which is independent to the other graphs displayed. So again, you can select a different value here based on those values, and it is independent to the other graphs that we have above. As you can see, this one is still selected based on a day interval, whereas we've just now selected this one for a week interval. Now you can see line graphs within SCI by default provide you the top 2 displayed are already selected. But as with the other graphs, the other remaining entries can be added to the graph by simply checking the corresponding outline box. Now as we scroll on down, we see the next chart is the top 10 authentication methods by client count. As the name implies, authentication methods of clients are listed, and as we can see in our demo environment, we have a large amount of MAC registrations being performed. As we move down, we can see that the client details table is the next list or entry within this client report. Displayed in table form, the list of the top 10 clients per data usage within the time period and AP selections that we have selected up at the top. By default, tables within SCI display the top 10, but can be changed at the top right to a larger value if we so choose. Now do note when we select this, although the top 10 will still be listed, we can click on the arrow down at the bottom to see the next 20 that we have selected or that we have chosen within this value up at the top right. Now do note in the host name, IP address, and username can have multiple entries shown here, which just means that the client is connected using different values of these entries. This is common as users connect to different environments that are being reported to SCI that require different authentication and IPs, which are displayed in the table as you can see here. Helpful information such as consumption of the devices displayed in the table, as well as the consumption value and the total data collected, which is represented by the percentage and the actual bandwidth, which you can see up at the top right here as well. Now columns can be selected, allowing the indexing of the columns as you prefer. So I can click on these and it would change the indexing. Clicking on the gear can affect the columns that are displayed, including MAC address, as well as the manufacturer and OS. Other options can be deselected based on the values that you want displayed. As we continue to move down, we can see that the unique clients trend over time is the next series, along with the traffic values as well. Now these graphs represents the clients over time period selected at the top window. However, you can change the value that reflects specifically to these graphs. So you can see here, this is the pre-selected value. However, I go in and change this to the last 7 days, and it will only affect those two graphs that we have displayed here. Do note that once I've done that, I can have more granular detail because it is within 7 days and a 15-minute period if I so choose. Details within the graph are broken down by radio and selected by default, but you can deselect by checking the associated box. Hovering over the graph, like others, provides the unique details or the specific details based on the time period that is hovered over. And the graphic below breaks down the data usage based on the time intervals as well. This can be compared to the trends we see above when it comes to the clients that are connecting to your environment. Now the final entry within the client's report is a table form which represents a unique client's table over time. Like with other tables within SCI, this works providing different time intervals based on the value selected up at the top right. Like the graphic above it, we can select a unique value here that is not reflective of the whole client report, but more specifically this table itself. Like with other tables as well, we can click on the gear here. We can add or remove columns based on your preference. Also, each header can be clicked on and indexing can be performed based on that header or that column value. Now we can look at this value or this report that we have generated here, and like with all other ports within SCI, it can be displayed in form and can be downloaded using the download button you see up at the top right. The CSV and the PDF format can be chosen, and it would simply download this report that is displayed here. We can also save this report that we have configured or created here by clicking on the gear button up at the top right of the saved filters, selecting new, and naming it. You can see now this report is identified by the name that I provided. Now, if I want to revert back to the default behavior, which is all APs represented in this report, I simply go over to the right on the gearbox next to the named report and push the reset button. and that'll take us back to the default look. Now you can see that all APs that are being collected is now being displayed within this report. To go back to any of the saved reports, I simply click on the Saved Reports button here, and any of the saved reports will be listed and any one can be selected, and then that report will be displayed. Do note that I can update this report. If I were to make some changes within this report and wanting to update it, I can click on Update. It would give me an option to be able to change the name or provide a more granular or unique name for it based on the changes I've made, or just simply click Update. We also have an option to be able to delete any of the reports that we have. So if we select the report here and I push delete, it would delete this particular report and take me back to the default values. The last thing I'd like to show you within this report is the scheduling feature as well. We click on the schedule over to the left here, and we can see that we have got 2 reports already configured and enabled. However, I can go in and create a new schedule based on the report that I've designed here. I simply name that schedule. I can select the format in which I want this schedule report to be sent, whether it be PDF or CSV. And then I can select its repeat value, such as a daily report, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. The daily, weekly, and monthly, if selected, it will ask you what day of the month, what day of the week, or on a daily basis, it'll ask you what hour of the day you would like to send that report. Once you've made those values or selected those values, you simply put in the email address of the user that you would like to receive this report. Now, one things that do consider when it comes to your quarterly and yearly, these are set values, and these are going to be set on a calendar quarter or a calendar year, meaning that if we select quarterly or yearly, that will simply generate a report and send it the day after or as soon as that quarter or that year has been completed. Maintenance of these schedule reports is possible by simply checking on the checkbox next to the report, clicking disable or delete. If you'd like to just temporarily disable this report, you can simply check the box and click disable, which would cause that report not to be generated until it is re-enabled again. So with that, it completes the details and the information on the client's report within the SCI. And if you'd like to know more about the other tabs within the SCI instance, I encourage you to look at the other videos within this series to provide you more details of each one of them. Thank you.